Why slag in why zag? And that's exactly what the Indian dressing room will be asking themselves. They were in it to, of course, win it, to go probably 450 on day one. My name's Avnish Hegde. We're going to be reviewing the second test, day one, with the boys. And I'm apologetic already because, look, I'm under the weather and, of course, started this show very late. And not really fashionably late as well, but better late than never. Have Gukirat sipping on some hot tea, and hopefully he doesn't have to reheat it in the microwave. And Nikhil Popat as well, who will, of course, shed light on this day one. Rohit Sharma winning the toss, but if there was a day to kind of give audiences a glimpse of soft dismissals, it was this day, Gurkirat. What's happening? And is that bourbon, Jim Jam? What are you going in for today?
It's my favorite bourbon with tea. It's that time. It's 5:15. The mercury is about to drop, and it's still cold in Delhi. So there's that. But yeah, today's Indian batting was like you've gone to a party and the DJ changes the song when it's reached this most famous chorus, or when you're about to do the hook step and you see the song has been changed. So it was pretty much like that. All batters starting but finding a way to get dismissed. I thought at max India should have been 3 down, maybe 4 down if you account for one odd wicket here or there, but 6 down I feel is too much, especially after opting to bat and on this pitch. There was hardly anything.
We'll come on that pitch. We will come to that pitch, but just a reflection of how it stands at stumps at day one. 336 for 6, as you can see over there. 179 not out for Jaiswal. Lots of records for him, which we'll speak about. But the one to get you started is that the highest score on day one by batters, 179 not out for Indian batters since 2011. Let me not get ahead of myself. But then, of course, as you can see, the bowlers as well, Rian Ahmed, Shoaib, Basheer and Hartley were in the thick of things. But James Anderson stood out indeed, bowling the most maidens in the day. We'll talk about how economical he was. And not to forget that other name which stands as well, Rajat Patidar, and how he went on his debut. And again, another soft dismissal for him. Let me get Nikhil Popat into the conversation right now, because essentially, Gukirat just mentioned it there. It was almost a party, and I don't know what the song of choice was, but it was almost like Jaiswal la la, shimmy shimmy yeah, shimmy yeah, Jaiswal la la. I mean, talk to me about how that guy just batted in a different deck, Nikhil. It was a joke, honestly.
Yeah, but it was very, very refreshing to see him once again just bat deep and bat long. I think you could see that intent right from the word go in terms of the way he started his innings. And in the first star also, whenever Root kind of went wide, he was happy to drive, happy to cut at times in the air, which told you that he doesn't want the bad ball to not punished. So I think that was a great sign that he was there. And there were glimpses with him also. When he crossed 50, when he crossed 100, you felt that one risk was coming, but it did not go to hand, thankfully for India. There was also one at 161 odd when he wanted to had a swipe across Shoaib Basheer. But for India's sake and for his sake, it was very good to see him just apply himself. And the one thing that stood out for me was how compact he was in terms of his defense. When he wanted to drive, he was very quick and get into the pitch of it. But when he wanted to defend, he was very resolute. No two ways about it. You could possibly say in terms of execution that how Bharat executed, how Aksar executed those cut shot, how Patidar, who looked so good, when he defended, unfortunately it went back. But with Jaiswal, that wasn't the case. With Jaiswal, it was always very solid, and it's his second score of over 150, and it's a very short career already, which just tells you that this is what we've all been wanting from him: batting big. Not just those 20-30s. We have plenty of them. So, Paji rightly said this was a party and everybody was served starters apart from Jaiswal.
Yeah, he's honestly had a 5 course and he's digging in for more tomorrow. And we heard that post-match interview that he wants to really double up. In fact, we'll talk about Jaiswal more with Gurkirat right now and you guys in the comments in our first segment called The Showstopper, and bringing it in right now. He definitely stopped the show, Gurkirat. I want to ask you because he looked like so composed out there. He's not even faced 1,000 balls in his Test career, but he gives you a glimpse that he's faced over 10K balls. What was the most pleasing thing from Jaiswal today? Just pouncing on the loose ball, but he did more than just that.
I thought the most impressive part about his innings today was when he was facing Anderson and he chose not to take any risks, given the match situation, given the series situation. Because, when you're batting that well, it's easy to get carried away and, look to disturb the lines. But he recognized that threat and he chose to, be respectful in terms of recognizing that this is probably the biggest wicket taking threat and not trying anything fancy. And I thought he had a slight difference in intent from the last game because again he did not start in the same manner that he did in the last game. He was initially he had a strike rate of around 50, which is something you will take on most days in a test match. But he's shown that he can bat at a quicker pace, but he did not because he really wanted to bat for the long haul. And you could see that even after crossing 150 he was batting according to the phases. Yes, he did attempt a six in the last 3-4 overs when the ball was there to be hit. But otherwise, you could see that he was trying to bat the situation and trying to bat the situation. Now, the point about Anderson, maybe Gill could have taken a look at that and figured that when he got out, there was probably only one more over of Anderson remaining, and then there was going to be lunch. And till then, he had batted pretty well against the spinners. So I thought, apart from the runs, the best part about his innings was realizing that Anderson does possess a threat of dismissing him and playing him accordingly.
Yeah, it's food for thought that. Nix, I just want to ask you because I was just listening to Kevin Peterson right now in that post-match chat, and he was like, literally, there's no weakness in his game yet. Do you agree with those thoughts? Because even in that first test, he had 100 on the offering, and he almost kind of threw it away. So is there a chink in this Yashasvi Jaiswal armor yet? I know it's still early days, but if you really had to nitpick.
No, I wouldn't want to nitpick it now. I'd maybe nitpick it after he's gotten to the double, or even maybe even more than that. Because see, the point is every batter has their own areas where you feel you can target them. You would probably feel when he came on, there were talks about trying to cramp him for room on the short ball, but he played that well. And we all remember that chase against Chennai where he was just hammering length balls. And now, as you can see from the wagon wheel as well, he's hit everywhere up along and around the ground. So there is not an area where you can feel that okay, let me just make him hit to the one side. Now this is not a one day innings where you would want to plan that way. So as of now you would feel that okay, there are areas where you want to target that a better spin attack maybe test him more. But for now I'm very happy with the way he's playing, and he's playing to his strengths. So to me that is far more important, because you can see that with at times Shreyas, how Anderson was bowling short to him, and then he wanted to move around and try and pull or cut the ball. Now that is something that you can't really fathom. That why would you want to do that with just probably one or max 2 overs of Anderson coming? And Anderson also isn't bowling at that pace, which should worry you so much that you want to put him off. And Anderson is not going to get put off by anything that you do, because he's been like that for, I mean, I don't know, so many years. So I think that is something that stood out really for me in terms of Jaiswal's game plan. Very clear that I will do this. They can bowl this to me, because you have to remember England do not have a express pace bowler in this game to try and bowl that short ball to him, into the body, back of length, to cramping him for him. So maybe that is something we might see ahead. But as of now, he's batting confidently, freely. That is all that's needed.
Okay, I mean, more on Jaiswal and some sumptuous stats available on cricket.com right now. And if you guys are watching this whenever, wherever, however, please like this video, because at the end of the day, we're going to be reviewing all day's play in this glorious 5-match test series. We've seen India go down in Hyderabad. Only time will tell how they respond in Vizag. And so far, so good, Gurkirat, you might think. 336 for 6. Now, a lot of noise coming in from the British media and British pundits right now is that England have had a really good day. So even with India being 350, 400, let's give it, in the first innings, do you still see advantage England, funnily enough?
350, yes. 400, I'd say it's even Stevens. Maybe around 450 or 450 plus, you would have said that the team batting first or India would have had the advantage, because What that would have done is it would have also taken some time out of the game and would have let the pitch deteriorate. Because from what we have seen of typical Indian pitches is that the more you play on it, the more they deteriorate, and it gets more difficult to bat. So ideally, if India do bat on less than 130 overs or 135 overs, which is about 4.5 sessions, if they do bat lesser than that, they should be disappointed, because on this pitch you should have done it. At this point of time, I'd say that this is probably a shared day. 50 runs less, I would have said England's day for sure. But given that India still managed to reach 336, I'd say it's a shared day, because there's a good possibility of India still reaching 400. Now, whatever might be the pitch, if you have 400 runs, there are decent enough runs on the board to create some kind of scoreboard pressure.
Nikhil, how do England play this? Because they're 1-0 up. They don't have to really take the game on. They can, if they want to. They will, because they want to. How do you think it's operating in Ben Stokes' mind right now? 450, he's not worrying at all. We'll bat it, because day two, like Gurkira mentioned, it'll still be something in for the batters.
Yeah, 100%. And I think he'd be delighted with the way India have gifted those wickets right through the series. In every inning where you would feel that it hasn't been as much the bowling, as much India's batting and their approach. So I think he'll be very happy, because if you lose the toss in the subcontinent and the home side is batting first, you'd say that I am more than happy if they don't get to 405, 450, 500, because that's the mark which makes you feel that okay, I have to catch up a lot. But now when you have a side 330 or for six, and India's tail is long, it is you are a wicket away. You could get Jaiswal very early, and then you could simply keep them to 400, which is something he would take any day of the week if you give him that you lost the toss and you've kept India under 400. So I think that will be their plan, to try and get the last four very quickly. Maybe they'll all bowl short balls wide outside off stump and hope that India hit them to the fielder. But because that's been the pattern so far. So hopefully that isn't the case for India. But I think England will take it. And as Padi said, day two should still see good batting conditions, as you also mentioned. So they would want to get in, and they'll know that they have to bat really, really deep, because they've seen how India have batted on this surface, and it is only going to get worse. So the second innings probably is the best time any team to bat in this test match now.
Guys, let me know in the comments below as well, Gautam Nayak and all you lovely people, because I'm not doing it off my own laptop. I've taken out the benefit of the phone to check out the live right now. Good to see 50 if you're all watching. Please give this a like. Nikhil Baiju, sports fan, Jaydeep, Gigi, Prashant Gururu, Ash. Let us know if you guys agree with the boys, because Gurkirat, if you guys read between the lines, suggested that India should bat anywhere another 45 overs from here with regards to how much they can mount. And if they have Jaiswal there and he's in an ominous mood, dare I say there's more runs coming. But we'll take some important questions, plaguing questions, to keep them coming through. I love the comments coming right now from RK Cricket Talkies as well. But Gurkirat, let me ask you about not the Indian debutant, but the England debutant first, Shoaib Basheer. Apparently, Swanee thinks
His
he
brother.
looks like me. He looks like me. I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments. But what did you make of him? And a big scalp to get, Rohit Sharma, even though it was innocuous.
Yeah, I don't think could have asked for a better start. I thought he showed. I thought he showed more control than what Hartley did in the first innings in Hyderabad, and easily more control than what Rehan did in this game. But again, Rehan's a wrist spinner and he's a off spinner. I think it was partly held by India's intent as well, because India did look a little circumspect in terms of wanting to bat long, which is understandable given what happened in Hyderabad and India missing at least three, if not four batters from their first 11 in terms of Virat, KL, and Jaddu. So it was understandable. So he had that advantage of being able to bowl to some extent, and I think that helped him. Of course, the height was going to help. It was something which Stokes had mentioned, English media had mentioned, and I think before he got Akshar out, there was another instance where he had Akshar going on the back foot, where Akshar wanted to punch, but the ball bounced a little
Ball
more.
kept.
So and it went to the third man boundary. So I think there are things to work with, but of course, too raw at this stage and too early in his career, because six first class matches is hardly any experience. India have Patidar playing today, who's who's been playing first class cricket since 2015. So six first class matches is too raw. So from that aspect, you would be more than happy with what he did today.
Okay, it's funny how that whole video surfaced in the WhatsApp group chat of the ECB and Stokes, and that's well documented already. And like I said, Swanee likened him to me, but Nikhil in our WhatsApp chat itself likened him to Rakeem Cornwall. Explain why, Nix.
Yeah, I think I don't know why. When I saw him, the first thing was like, I've seen this action before, in terms of how he dropped the ball and got the ball to hit the deck and turn very, very quickly. And it was only after a few hours that I recollected, oh, the action looks a bit like Cornwall. But again, it could just be very me because, as Paji also rightly mentioned, uh, it is very good to see a debutant have that much control because you could easily get overawed even by the lack of intent at times. You could at times just bowl to the perception, which wasn't the case. And for him to get Rohit out so early, it probably just settled him down completely, that now he doesn't really have to worry about things that are not in his control. So I did feel is a bit like Conwell because he is getting sharp. He got sharp turn, uh, and again a lot more. Probably not a classical off spinner action, but I don't mind Conwell's action as well. So I don't mind Soy Bashir's action also.
And he certainly won't mind getting the wicket of Rohit Sharma first up. Basheer doing live right after the games. Yep, it's me, Shoiab. Say hi, subscribe right now because that's the unthinkable. We're getting England cricketers to do a live show from India. If Avnish get a punch in the nose, then it's Basheer. It is the beak of the nose. Can you tell? By the
Yeah,
way, from one debutant Gurkhirat, let's
that's
talk
on
about.
but that's on my wish list.
That is that's on many people's wish list. But jokes apart, Rajat Patidar from one debutant to the other. Then again, I felt for him. The more you look at that dismissal, you're like, he should have kicked it away. But what do you make of that brief 30 that he had and some sumptuous shots, if I may
Yeah,
say?
looked pretty solid. You felt like he looked on for a good score, and that dismissal is as random as it can be. I mean, you can't even say that the batter did anything wrong. The ball just bounced and went on to the stumps. If you are lucky, sometimes the ball can hit the stumps that way, and the bails are not even dislodged. So that wasn't the case to be with Patidar. There were some shades of Rahane. You felt that okay, but played at least at this point of time, you can say that probably he's better versus when. You can't really make that assumption about his game versus pace because he's not played as much in those conditions as much as Rahane did, but looked very good. You would hope that if he plays the remaining test matches, there is a good score around the corner with him because you felt he was also batting to the situation. It looked like he was not rushed. He did not feel like okay, I have to attack, or he was. It might sound cliche, but he was batting on the merit of the ball, not looking to do anything extra, and was not even going into a shell. So you felt like he did all the things right, except for that dismissal, which I'm not even sure how to describe it.
Yeah, he seemed really calm and he seemed unflustered. Pretty much, even that dismissal, he should have been more flustered about it because if he paid more attention, then he would have probably been surviving. But jokes apart, Nix, I mean, his game against spin is well documented, not just in the white ball scheme of things, but how he kind of took apart the England Lions not too long ago as well. What is the light at the end of the tunnel for someone like Patidar? Is he just going to come in and be a stopgap? Is he going to fade away like a Vihari sort of story? Or do you think that even though he's a late bloomer, there is some dum in this guy?
Yeah, of course there is. Of course there is. And uh, all I'm going to hope is he gets an extended run, not like anybody else who's probably just, as you said, a stopgap arrangement. Because I really feel the time is running out for Shreyas, and if and when Virat and KL come back, you probably feel there are two people who will feel that pressure. And if Rajat continues to uh, impress in terms of his stay at the crease, because see what you have to also understand is sometimes you're not getting that big score, but in that short period of play, how comfortable are you looking in terms of the situation, in terms of your shots? And I think that's where we all agree that he looked the part, and that is something that should hold him in very good stead. That in the second innings, when conditions are going to be even tougher, I think that's where probably he'll probably stand out because of his recent form. So I'm looking forward to that innings also. But even without that, I hope he's given an extended run at whatever spot they select for him, because there are other people who you, if you want to drop them, there are other folks who you feel that they've probably gotten the rope, and maybe it's time to really get in these guys. And Rajat is still 30, so there is still time for him to play a couple of WTC cycles. So it's not too late also.
Yeah, and big player. You look at how he's, of course, gone about it, not just in that game against LSG, but even in that Ranji Trophy final. I think he scored 100. He did really well against DK's Tamil Nadu, who he was, of course, vociferously praising on air, saying that he played M. Siddharth, Varun Chakravarti. So he knows how to play spin really well. And one of the shots that he played today was that reverse sweep, and it's always good that Indian batters are playing the reverse sweep more and more right now because, as you know, Bazball's in town. So let us know how much you guys judge Rajat Patidar in terms of his debut today. I think it was absolutely sensational, but you guys can have that say in the comments below. Clint Francis, good new names joining us as well. We'll take all the best of the questions in a bit because we still want to finish up on a few things. Whose wicket disappointed you the most? We'll talk about all of that. Speaking of which, it's a perfect segue to talk about the two individuals in Team India right now where there's a lot of question marks around them, unfortunately. Shubman Gill and Shreyas Iyer, they are, of course, brilliant batters. They possess a lot of skill sets. But right now, you just think, when is that form going to come? Is it around the corner? Because for Shreyas as well, I don't even have to say about the short ball anymore. I mean, everyone's trying their bit. Root was bowling short at him. It was almost downright embarrassing. Boys, where do we start? We'll start with Gill or Iyer, because should we just go in batting order then talk about Shubman Gill? Because the intent that he actually showed coming down the ground and tracked Anderson in many ways was good to see. But you felt that inevitably he's going to nick off. Am I wrong? Gurkira, did you feel that? How did you assess Gill's 34? I just nearly said Gurkira's 34. Gill's 34.
Yeah, he batted well till the point of his dismissal, and that it's he got out in a similar manner in West Indies, if I'm not wrong, to Kemar Roach in the first test, wherein you knew that he was setting himself up for the ball coming in, and in the process, he ended up nicking one towards the keeper, which he shouldn't have. And today, that time it was just the first mistake which got his dismissal, but today he had nicked it twice, and once there was no gully and the ball went for the four. The other time it just dropped short of the slip fielder and still went for a four. And you have to look at the time. Probably there was just one more over of Anderson remaining before lunch, and could have been smarter about it, having asked Jaiswal to maybe face that over and bat till lunch, and from there on could build his innings, because he was fairly positive against Basheer. He drove
Gurkira, let
him.
me just interject here because this is something that we dug out and we kind of felt that it's a trend almost being caught behind the wicket for Shubman Gill. We, of course, think about that dismissal in WTC, even though it was a controversial catch and all of that. But what do you put it down to? Is it, again, that technical deficiency where, yes, he's brilliant on that front foot, but sometimes the bowlers play against his ego? Today, classic example, Anderson just making him fish outside that fifth, sixth stump, and the reward was there.
I think more than the ego, it's just the some batters have that tendency to feel bat on ball. If you could bring up that graphic once again. Also, what it displays is that sometimes he's been caught on the crease and tried to play away from the body, and that has happened with him. And if you look at his ODI game or his game overall, he does look like someone who enjoys to play late and play off the crease, or maybe off the back foot, and look to punch the balls. Now, when you're set up like that, sometimes late away movement will get you, and your instincts would be such that you will end up playing at those deliveries and get caught in the slips. And that has happened with him. It happened with him, I think, even in the first WTC final. If you look at his two dismissals over there in that game. So yeah, it's not difficult to explain, given how he's set up. And the unfortunate bit about his batting is that that weakness of the ball coming in, that has now started to reflect across formats. So he really needs to work on that. But for me, the bigger question right now arises is that if you've had an opener struggling with movement, right, with the ball coming in, I know Shubman asked for him to bat at number three, but someone should have really said that you are not going to get any respite by batting at three if you're just looking to avoid the moving ball, because one early wicket could fall anytime, and you still might be batting in a similar situation. So who really had the brains behind it, and why did everyone agree to it is something is something that should be asked, because you would rarely see that someone who's not had success as an opener or as a number three become successful as an opener, or the other way around. The ideal move, I still believe, should have been number five, and it's been something that we have been saying at least for a couple of years.
If it's not number five, then how do they revive this situation for Shubman Gill, Nikhil, with regards to Team India and Rahul Dravid? I know there'll be a lot of arm around the shoulder and give him the longer rope, bat in that position. Gurkita just mentioned it. He wanted to step down and not open the batting. Hasn't really got a 50 or 100 in that regard. How does he kind of now give himself that confidence, yes, of going and getting a big one? Or does he just tell himself that I'm getting 20s, 30s, but I'm not making it really count? So do you think he's quietly confident that there's one big around the corner? Or do you think now, if he has a couple of more bad innings, then it's the end of the road temporarily for Gill in Test cricket?
Yeah, I actually honestly felt today was the day where it felt to me that he's probably making all the right decisions in terms of using his feet to spin. And I honestly felt Anderson was the only guy who could stop him after that start. And it makes that shot and that period of play even more infuriating that he got the edge twice. He saved there. And yet, despite of that action, he couldn't, probably control himself or find a way that, okay, it's probably going to be 1 or 2 overs max. I just have to see him off. There is no need for me to be playing that wide. But as Padi said, sometimes you're also playing the bowler and thinking that what if he gets one to come in. So I think till, as Padi said, till the time he got out, he looked like he was getting that knock today. So maybe the management will also look at it in a way that, okay, these are positive signs. They'll probably wait for another innings in the second one. But if he again gets out in a similar manner, then I personally feel they should probably just give him a break, get him away from all the limelight, and then work with him on in the background that, okay, this is what we have to work on, because it's becoming a pattern across formats. And because the thing is, you could easily give him a couple more games, and if he gets out in a similar manner even more, the confidence is going to be absolutely out of the window. So that I don't think is a good place to be in. And what makes the call even more tricky is India's position, because if India is 1-1, it's easier for them to carry Gill. But if it's 2-0, then I don't think it's going to be easier for them to carry Gill. And for Gill also to not feel confident or he'll also feel very doubted that, I really have to get a score, because only then my place will feel justified. So I think they'll probably wait for one more innings purely on the basis of what we saw today. So I think second innings is the time where you say you continue to do the good work. This is the one matchup. This is the way that you're getting troubled. These are our quick fixes for now, and then you take it from there. Because I don't think at this point of time you can think too long term in terms of how to work out when the game is on.
Yeah, you're spot on, especially with the fact that the series is precariously poised right now, even though it's still 1-0 England, and whether that really goes in Gill's favor or not. Gurkirat, is Gill right now the best of the bad bunch in terms of the Indian batters in Test right now? Because you look at how even Shreyas is, it almost is a shootout of who kind of keeps their spot in this Test before the big boys come calling.
I think it's possible that both might lose their spots. It's very much possible that both can lose it, especially if Patidar has a good innings in the second innings, because even if you look at Shreyas, from the beginning of 2023, he's had 11 innings and he's gotten out to spin 6 times. So you don't expect that to happen to him. Everyone's aware of his struggle versus pace, and you know it it keeps getting uglier and uglier. I mean, today Joe Root attempted a bouncer at him, so it keeps getting ugly for him, and it doesn't help him. He's gotten out to an Anderson bouncer before in England, and today Anderson again tried to bounce him, and I did not really like the approach that he was taking in terms of trying to take it on with three fielders in the team. I mean, at the max, what you could have done is found a boundary. If you are attempting a six against that week against that matchup, that particular delivery, you are anyway risking too much. given the match situation and everything, because now you are considered amongst one of the experienced batters in the team. So
But
I
what
did not.
about that ploy also? Sorry, what about that ploy also where Anderson just had two balls at the end of that over and he went short both times? One, he was trying to move around like he was playing a T20 game and he was lucky not to chop on. And the second one, I think he did something funky and he left it. Is
Yeah.
that, again, getting into his mind? Why the devils and demons getting into his mind? Or is it just now a cross format, no matter whenever he picks up bat, anyone knows to bowl short against him?
Yeah, it's a documented weakness now. It's been for around some time now, and there doesn't seem to be any respite for it. The worst thing that it has started to do is it has started to affect his gameplay against other deliveries, because when you are consistently setting up yourself for the short delivery, you will not have that weight transfer to fuller deliveries, which has happened, and he's gotten out that way in some of the innings, the World Cup final being the most recent one. You could see that happen in South Africa as well. So it is becoming a very, very obvious weakness, and there seems to be no fix for it right now.
What about the soft dismissals, Nick? I mean, you look at Shreyas generally in the last, say, whatever, 6 months, and I'm trying to think about all the dismissals he's had. Sure, the short ball comes into perspective really quickly, but even something like today, something like the World Cup final, these little small nicks that he gets against himself, do you think that also kind of comes at a cost where you're thinking, okay, I've done well to kind of survive a short ball barrage, and now I want to cash in. And just when he thinks he wants to cash in, he gets one to go against him.
Yeah, and it is something that I'm sure will be eating up even more because he's supposedly the answer to your spin troubles. In terms of he's to be the guy who will take the attack to the spinners on. But unfortunately, of course, when a lot of spin is bowled, you will get out to them. But it's also the manner of dismissals in terms of going back to cut. Okay, today you can possibly say that the ball kept a bit low and it was an excellent catch from Ben Fox. Maybe other keeper wouldn't have taken it. But the thing is, it's kept happening for a while. And that's where I feel the confidence also helps in terms of your clear plan that if spin is going to come on, no matter how I bat at pace, this is how I'll fancy and I'll play spin, because then that will also make the bowler bowl differently. So at this point of time, I don't think that is happening because it feels as if he just wants to get away to pace. Let's not get out there, and to spin, you're waiting, and the bat ball isn't coming, which means you end up trying to manufacture something and you get out. So I think it's the entire, like, everything that can go wrong for you is going wrong for him in terms of approaching spin also. So very difficult times for Shreyas because I personally felt, and I said this twice or thrice now, that when he hit 200 hitting sixes to Nathan Lyon, that we finally have a guy who can really hit spin. But that hasn't quite materialized into that kind of batting because that kind of batting needs a lot of confidence. And with Shreyas, I feel it's a lot more to do in terms of how confident he feels about himself at the wicket. And which is why all those dismissals that we talk about, they look like of a man who's short of confidence in terms of, no, I don't think I can pull this off at this point of time. So it's very tricky for him and also for the management because first you have to accept that the short ball is a problem, and then you have to try and find the way that if it is with spin, how is it that you're going to counter. So uh, at this point of time, I feel both of them could do with a break if things continue to be the same way for them.
Yeah, you just almost need to kind of find the reset button at the back of them and just kind of do that because they're such great talents, and only time will tell how they kind of will go in their test careers, let alone this series. Who will replace Virat in the next match? Where is Virat? Virat, please, if you're listening, India need you. Don't come back, of course, when it's 2-0 down, because I know you can turn it around 3-2. But honestly, we hope that Virat's doing well. I was just, of course, taking the mic because there were lots of Virat Kohli fans in the office as well. And we were thinking to ourselves, geez, this could mean a really long series for India if Virat doesn't return. Time to take some questions right now. Shauna Ghosh saying, Paji, don't you think it was very defensive of Rohit to give up such a high way? England will score 500 a day on this track. Rohit can't escape with the draw. And that's something that you were touching upon as well, that India need to get 550 minimum, generally.
No, I said 450 minimum, but I don't think such track is a defensive move. These are the kind of pitches that we have seen in India. Before you saw an overload of spin from day one, And I also don't think it's a kind of track where England can score 500 runs in a day, because for that you really need to bowl very poorly.
But it
I
also it also shows that Team India are not worried going 1-0 down and going to be making a spin deck immediately, right? What they've dished out today in Vizag is honestly is a good deck.
I think they've learned their lesson, probably a little too late, but finally they've learned that lesson, that it's not going to help you as a team, and they've probably realized that, barring a few mistakes of their own in that last game, they still could have been the better side with a better result had they applied themselves better. So no need to panic in terms of having a pitch that takes the gulf of that takes the quality of the spinners out of the equation. I think this could be a good pitch for Kuldeep to come in and make an impact, because he's the kind of spinner you don't really, expect to make an impact depending upon the pitch, because with wrist spinners you are expecting them to make an impact when there's not a lot of help from the pitch in terms of
Yeah.
their trajectory, or batters not reading them from the hand. So he would be key when India will come on to bowl. I'm not so sure what I feel about the decision to play Mukesh. I said it in the last game that I'm not one for who says that you should play four spinners, because we have often seen even three spinners not being completely utilized. So I was not on that train, but I feel that if India really wanted to play another pacer, they could have given Siraj an extra game in terms of seeing that how does he now respond after what happened in the last game, specifically how he had bowled in the first innings. They've gone for Mukesh, maybe because they expect him to provide more control, which is probably fair. But again, I think, if I'm not wrong, this is Mukesh's first test in India, so would probably be a challenge for him also, or yeah, to see how he goes, because uh, a lot of pitches that you see in test matches in India are very different from the ones that are there served up in Ranji Trophy. So could be a good challenge for him also against an international team in India.
Yeah, that was the only bone of contention. I'll get Nikhil's thoughts on the pitch and the playing 11s right now, because really quickly for me, when I saw that pitch, of course, I was thinking, yeah, it's a 2006 pitch written all over it, bat till day two, and then, of course, maybe a couple overs to Tendulkar and Sehwag just before stumps, that kind of vibe. And about the playing 11, I called it an M&L, Nix, and you witnessed to it that I had a left field prediction if they would play Mukesh, because I felt that with Siraj, you guys called it with Shreyas and Shubman right now, that sometimes you just need a break to recharge yourself. Siraj needed that with the World Cup and how much cricket he's played. They've got Avesh Khan as a replacement in the squad, so they've given Siraj a proper break. With Mukesh, my thing is, I think he will have an important say in this game, especially with India bowling last. It's going to be a deck which will be determined with the bounce as well, not just the spin getting big on you, but at times short bursts like what Virat used to do. It depends how Rohit uses him. Want to get Nikhil's thoughts on just that bone of contention. Would you have picked Sundar now in hindsight, or do you think, you know what, India have taken a punt to Mukesh? Let's see how it really unravels.
I wouldn't have picked Sundar. That is something we discussed in the MNL. I would have probably played an extra batter or a spinner if you wanted to go down that route. Like Paji mentioned, and you also touched upon it, they probably look to want to have control. And if that is the case, no better example than a great spell that Anderson bowled today in terms of who to look up to for Mukesh. Because the way Anderson bowled today, he was probably the biggest reason for India also having all of those soft dismissals, because he never let up from his end, and he was testing a guy who had played more than 200 balls even toward the fag end of the day. It just speaks volumes, firstly about the talent and the skill that Anderson has, and the learnings that Mukesh can have from this deck in terms of, okay, if this is where I want to bowl, this is the person to look up to. So I think maybe that's what they also felt, because there was some grass, and you are like, if you're bowling first for the first 2 days, you still want that seam option, because there is, again, reversing, we don't know how much it will come, but it did play a small part even today. So I'm expecting that to come into picture, but I wouldn't have picked Mukesh. I would have probably sided with a bowler or a extra batter than Sarfaraz Khan, because I wanted that assurance given how we've batted so far. So in
Yeah,
terms of that is taken care of. In the pitch, I think I agree with Paji. This is how I want all the pitches to be. Good for batting for the first 2 days, and then it slowly starts to deteriorate so that you are grooming a lot of skills for everybody involved as well.
Yeah, and everything comes into play because the spinners will, of
Yeah.
course, lick their lips in day 4 and 5. And, of course, even the pacers, like we said, Mukesh and Bumrah, indeed, how they kind of hit the length on the back. Sometimes it could kind of creep in. I'm just trying to look through there if my light might be flickering right now. But look, we'll take some questions as well. But we'll also have to kind of shed light on what's going to be a very interesting day 2 in What's Next. Right, Ben Stokes and this England team always holding their cards close to their chest, Baji, and they've not taken the new ball. India 336 for 6. How do you think they're going to go about it? Given that Yashasvi is on the brink of his double ton, still 22 away, and the new ball. Talk to me about those fascinating subplots in the morning session and how it's going to unravel according to you.
I think they'll take the new ball tomorrow. Probably one of the reasons why they didn't is because they wanted to give Anderson a break or some rest because he had bowled 18 overs up till that point of time. And it's something that I had said in the previous game as well. Do think that they could have done or, gone in with an extra pacer, probably Robinson, because then you would have had one spell or, at least one other bowler providing you control because see, you will not get a lot of control from the spinners that you've played, especially when Leach was also injured and Leach did not bowl enough. So I still feel that England could have gone in with a second pacer because today Rehan's introduction was pretty much delayed. And when you've had Root open the bowling with Anderson, you are, admitting that yes, control is a problem with your other three specialist spinners. So probably could have played, Robinson for Rehan or, Basheer, depending upon who they wanted to, uh, trust more or leave out more because Robinson's also no mug with the bat. He can also bat fairly decently. So I felt that they could have done that, but, they wanted to play with that one seamer only and overload with the spin. So be it. I feel tomorrow they will again take the new ball and probably will start the day like how they did today with Root being the other spinner and Anderson taking up one end. And that first half hour, 40 minutes would definitely determine how long will India bat because if Yashasvi is there to see off that 30-40 minutes, even if Ashwin's not there, Yashasvi has those shots and gears to bat with the tail and find those boundary options to keep the scoreboard ticking. So that first 30 minutes, 40 minutes will determine how long will India bat and how much will they end up with.
Nikhil, it
If
makes you
Yashasvi goes early, India could even be bundled out around 375. That is a possibility.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? Because that was my question to Nikhil, the fact that if Jaiswal goes early, but what if it's the contrary, where he's kind of almost going to carry the bat in many ways and he's losing partners at the other end? I'm pretty sure Ben Stokes will have plans with Ashwin, maybe kind of, pack a certain side of the field and play against Ashwin's ego. If that's the case and India lose too quickly, and I'm not talking about Jaiswal, Nikhil, then do you think that Jaiswal should just go farming the strike, but also in an aggressive manner? What does he have to lose?
Yeah, I think he has to do it immediately once Ashwin gets out because then I trust Bumrah all my life with it. But again, Jaiswal is the better batter there. So I think you'll want him to be the guy because Kuldeep also can hold an end. So what you have to then look out for is be smart in terms of who you're going after and when you're going after. As Paji said, my first instinct will be to at least get near 400. That should be possibly the minimum target that you want to have on this kind of deck. And once you get there, if you have lost more wickets, then you continue to bat the way you have. But if you haven't, then there is no point trying to hit or hurry. Because what you have, as Paji said at the start of the show, you also have to take time because this is still the best time to bat. Why would you want England to bat when the pitch is still better for batting? So if India don't lose any wickets in the first hour, great, nothing like it. Continue to bat as much as you can. There is no hurry whatsoever. But even if one falls, I'm all for Jaiswal to start Jai Mata Di.
Yeah, absolutely. And Shubham, do not start that. Do not start that. Everything is now Multan if a guy's in 190s, man, with Dowd being there. It's unbelievable. And Bill, thanks for that comment. All you lovely people as well, like this particular video because it's been truly a gripping day of cricket, and only time will tell how day 2 goes about it. We'll be there, of course, same time, same place with regards to cricket.com reviewing it. Just to finish up this What Next segment then, one word answers then. I'm going to ask you guys and put you all on the spot. If India do get 500 by hook or crook, are they in the driver's seat? Yes or no, Gurkirat?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, let's see
yes.
how it really swimmingly moves forward. Finally, we have to give you some trivia because it is that time of the show where we sprinkle some goodness. Right, it is trivia time. Friday, get your thinking hats on in the next couple of minutes because we understand that you guys love to, of course, show off through the comments because all you guys have been getting chatty with all the previous videos as well. What do we have, Mr. Producer, for today with regards to cricket.com's trivia? Now, this is what we're asking. I know the answer to this because I peeped into the Statman laptop. Jaiswal, yes, Jaiswal became the 9th Indian opener to score 150 plus runs against England in Test today. But who was the first to achieve this feat? Now, you'll have to think way back in time. I'm not going to give you any more clues, but there's an illustrious list. But we're asking you who's the first Indian opener to register 150 plus runs against England in Test cricket. The guys in the comments will, of course, win some stuff. We'll tell you what stuff that will be, but just get chatty. And if you guys already know the answer, tell us exactly what you guys thought about it and what you liked about Jaiswal as well. Just to end the show, lots of numbers because Jimmy Anderson's playing his 6th Test tour. I think he was probably you look at his first class game as well. Whenever he played that, he bowled against Derek Randall, and I'm thinking to myself, shit, like the amount of cricket he's played against cricketers from that era to a Jaiswal, it's like 70 years age difference. It's honestly mad. Did you guys come across any cool stats on Anderson or his age, Gukirat, on Twitter?
Yeah, that Basheer and Rehan Ahmed weren't even born when he played his first test. So that itself is pretty significant. But even without these stats, I mean, 21 years in professional cricket, international cricket is a long time. It's especially for a fast bowler. You could put caveats to it and say that, okay, he's only playing one format, etc., etc. But longevity in itself is a skill because I'm sure all of us at some point of time, even in our professional work setup, we felt like we are bored or maybe we don't want to do this, we want to try something different. So even to get up and keep doing the same thing again and again is not easy, and to do it with such accuracy it's even more brilliant. And Anderson has done it over and over again. And personally for me, he's someone who I really looked up to in terms of having that kind of fitness levels. I mean, at 41 to have those fitness levels is just outstanding.
Jimmy. Acha. It's
Wicket
almost
mat le bas.
but
Wicket
for the Indian batters over the time that they face Jimmy Anderson, it's like Khaja, because he's literally eaten all of them up. Tendulkar's, your Kohli.
Yeah, so someone did tweet today that he had the wood over Tendulkar, he's had the wood over Kohli, and if everyone does compare Gill to being the next Kohli, and now he's having the wood over Gill as well. So having the wood over three generations of Indian batters is no mean feat.
Helps having wood in the squad also. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask Nikhil, Anderson, what now, 691 after Gill today? Yeah. 700 this tour, or do you think that's wishful thinking, even from an England perspective?
No, from Indian POV, hopefully not. But I will not rule it out given Dharamshala. But I mean, let's not get there. It's a long time away. So hopefully, if India is winning the series, I don't mind giving him 700. It's okay. लेके जाओ कोई problem नहीं मेरे को, but otherwise maybe not, who knows.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for making sense of this day one of the second test from Vizag. India 336 for 6. Remember, it stumps it. Many would say that it's even Stevens. Many would say that India certainly had the control in that day, but maybe, just maybe, the door is still open for England to have their say. Appreciate your comments, Noodleax with Vasant and all you other lovely people. Please like this video, and we'll be back with much more, including some fun stuff later on in this week. I'm guessing with a lot of fan cam content as well pending. So watch the space and press the bell icon. I'm Avnish Hegde, Kulkirat Nikhil. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And like we showed you the trivia, comment for the right answers. Until the next time, so goodbye. Signing off on day one.
Cheers.
Cheers.